Travis Halverson, hands behind your head, turn around.
What the hell is this? Why are you stopping me?
This body cam footage shows Travis Halverson moments before his arrest. His entire world is about to come crashing down. And the only reason it's coming down at all is because of a 19-year-old at a McDonald's drive-thru window who didn't flinch.
The wife you snatched at gunpoint outside her work, we already got her.
She is my wife, and this is between her and me. You do not get involved
Face
in
the truck right now. You back the hell up. 19 years of marriage.
It would all come down to a single piece of paper. A McDonald's drive-thru receipt, ordered through at 1:43 in the afternoon, 2 number 1 combos, total $14.12. 3 letters scrawled on the back in shaky blue ballpoint pen, HELP. Underneath, in smaller letters, gun. By the time Kentucky State Police executed a high-risk traffic stop on his pickup at a small church parking lot off KY 259, that receipt was already sitting on a manager's desk inside the McDonald's, and a 911 dispatcher had the make, the model, and the plate. In the bed of his truck, under a blue tarp, was a folding shovel. Before we go any further, what would you have done if you were that 19-year-old at the window? Would you have noticed? Would you have stayed calm? Tell me in the comments. And subscribe if you haven't yet. We cover these cases every single week, and this one is one of the closest calls I've ever seen. Travis Roger Halverson was born in Bowling Green, Kentucky on August 14, 1977. His father, Roger Halverson, was a mechanic who ran a 2-bay garage on Russellville Road. His mother, Linda, worked the prescription counter at a small pharmacy on the south end of town. They lived in a single-story brick house off Cemetery Road, 3 bedrooms, an above-ground pool in the back, a Ford F-150 in the driveway that Roger kept running well past 200,000 miles. Travis was the older of 2, a younger sister, Brittany, born when he was 4. Neighbors who would later be interviewed by detectives described the Halverson household as normal. Roger drank, but he held a job. Linda went to church. Travis played Little League baseball at the city park on Industrial Drive and rode his bike down to the BP gas station on Scottsville Road for Slurpees in the summer. He was, by every account from those years, a polite kid, quiet, responsible. The kind of kid who held the door open for old ladies at the grocery store and called teachers ma'am and sir. He played quarterback for 2 years at Warren East High School. He was not a star. His coach's notes from that era described him as reliable, coachable, and willing to do the work others won't. His grades were average. His attendance was perfect. He graduated in 1995 and took a job that fall at his father's garage, pulling alternators and rotating tires for $9 an hour. The garage was where most people in Bowling Green knew Travis. He worked there for almost a decade. Customers liked him. He remembered names. He kept his fingernails clean despite the work, which his father teased him about. He saved his money. He drove a series of trucks he fixed up himself. First an '88 Chevy S10, then a '96 F-150, then the dark blue Ford F-250, he was still driving on February 11, 2025. In the spring of 2004, at a wedding reception held at a barn venue out in Smith's Grove, Travis met a woman named Rachel Whitfield. She was 24. He was 26. She was a dental hygiene student at Western Kentucky University, working toward her associate degree, with a part-time job at a dentist's office in town. By every account from people who knew them, she was the bright one in the relationship. Outgoing, quick to laugh, the kind of person who remembered the names of her patients' grandchildren and asked about them at the next cleaning. Travis, by contrast, was steady, quiet, careful with money. People said they balanced each other out. They dated for 18 months. They got engaged in October 2005 at a state park overlook out by Barren River Lake. They married on May 13, 2006, at the First Baptist Church of Bowling Green, with a reception at the same barn venue in Smith's Grove where they'd met. Rachel's father walked her down the aisle. Travis's father gave the toast. Photographs from that day show a young couple smiling at each other across a folding table covered with a white cloth, wedding cake half cut, the band tuning up in the background. In early 2007, Travis left his father's garage and took a job with the Warren Rural Electric Cooperative as an apprentice lineman. The pay was better. The benefits were better. The hours were brutal. Storm calls in the middle of the night, 16-hour shifts during ice storms. But the union and the pension were the kind of thing his father had always told him to chase. Rachel finished her hygiene certification that spring and took a full-time position at a family dental practice on Scottsville Road. In November 2007, their son was born. They named him Tyler James Halverson, Tyler after Rachel's grandfather, James after Travis's. He weighed 7 pounds, 4 ounces. The hospital photo from that night, Travis sitting on the edge of the bed in a wrinkled work shirt, Rachel in a hospital gown with the baby on her chest, both of them tired and stunned and holding the camera up at arm's length, would sit in a frame on the mantel of their house on Plano Road for the next 18 years. For most of the next decade, the Halversons looked like a Kentucky family that had it figured out. Travis made foreman at the co-op in 2014. They paid off the truck. They bought a 4-bedroom house on a half-acre on Plano Road, just outside the Bowling Green city limits, with a detached garage where Travis kept a 1972 Chevy Nova he was slowly restoring. Tyler played baseball, then football, then wrestling. Rachel was promoted to senior hygienist at her practice. They went to Gulf Shores every summer for a week. They hosted Thanksgiving every other year. The thing about domestic violence is that it almost never starts with violence. It starts with control. It starts in places no one can see. The inside of a marriage, the inside of a kitchen, the inside of a parked truck after an argument that started over something nobody can later remember. Travis's first known act of physical violence against Rachel happened in 2012, 6 years into the marriage. Tyler was 4. They were arguing about money, specifically about a bonus check Travis had spent on parts for the Nova without telling Rachel. The argument moved from the kitchen to the garage. Travis grabbed her by the upper arm hard enough to leave a hand-shaped bruise that took 11 days to fade. He apologized. He cried. He bought her flowers from the Kroger on Campbell Lane. She forgave him. She did not call the police. She did not tell her sister. She did not tell anyone at work. 40% of women who experience intimate partner violence never tell anyone the first time. Rachel was one of them. The second incident was in 2016. The third was in 2018. Each time, the bruises were placed where her dental scrubs would cover them: upper arms, ribs, the back of her thigh. Each time, the apology came. Each time, she stayed. In domestic violence research, there is a single act of violence that statisticians and prosecutors and emergency room nurses all agree is the strongest predictor of future intimate partner homicide. It is not punching. It is not weapons. It is not threats. It is strangulation. A woman who has been strangled by her partner is 7.5 times more likely to be murdered by that partner than a woman who has not. Strangulation is the warning shot. Strangulation is the line. In November 2023, during an argument about Tyler's grades, Travis put his hands around Rachel's throat in the kitchen of their house on Plano Road and squeezed hard enough that she lost vision in the corners of her eyes. He let go after roughly 6 seconds. She gasped. She slid down the cabinet to the floor. Tyler, who was 16, walked in from the hallway and saw it. Tyler was the one who called the police. Warren County deputies arrested Travis that night. He was charged with 4th-degree assault, domestic violence, and strangulation. Rachel got an emergency protective order the next morning. He spent 2 nights in the county jail before posting bond. He pleaded down to a misdemeanor in the spring of 2024 and was sentenced to 12-month supervised probation, mandatory anger management classes, and a court order to surrender all firearms in his possession. He surrendered 3. A 12-gauge shotgun he had inherited from his grandfather. A .22 rifle he had used to teach Tyler to shoot when Tyler was 9. A Glock 19 he kept in the bedside table in the master bedroom. He did not surrender the Ruger LCP, a small black .380 caliber pistol about the size of a deck of cards, that he had bought at a gun show in Nashville in 2019 and had never registered, never logged, never told anyone about. He kept it in a Crown Royal bag in the false bottom of his rolling toolbox in the detached garage on Plano Road. That is the gun he would carry into the parking lot of Rachel's office on the morning of February 11th, 2025. In August 2024, Rachel filed for divorce. She moved out of the house on Plano Road and rented a small 2-bedroom on Center Street, closer to her office. Tyler split time between the two houses, 3 nights with Rachel, 4 with Travis, by an interim custody arrangement. The final divorce hearing was scheduled for late February 2025. In the 6 months between the filing and the hearing, Travis's behavior began to change in ways that, in retrospect, every domestic violence investigator in the country recognizes. He started showing up uninvited at the dental practice, not to threaten, just to talk. He brought her coffee from the McDonald's on Scottsville Road on 3 separate mornings, left it at the front desk with a sticky note. He sent text messages at 2 and 3 in the morning, sometimes apologetic, sometimes accusatory, sometimes just photos of Tyler from when Tyler was small. Her co-workers noticed. The office manager at the dental practice, a woman named Cheryl Donovan, who had worked the front desk for 22 years, pulled Rachel aside in early January and asked gently whether everything was okay. Rachel said it was being handled. The protective order was still in place. The lawyer said the divorce would be final in 6 weeks. In late January, Travis was seen by a neighbor at the Center Street rental, sitting in his truck across the street at 11 at night, lights off, watching the front window. The neighbor called the Bowling Green Police non-emergency line. By the time a cruiser rolled by, the truck was gone. No report was filed. No one called Rachel. On February 6, 2025, 5 days before the kidnapping, Travis went to a gun range in Glasgow, Kentucky, an hour's drive from Bowling Green, and put 80 rounds through the Ruger LCP. The range logged him in under his own name. He paid in cash. The range surveillance camera, which prosecutors would later subpoena, showed him standing at lane 4 for 43 minutes, working through magazine after magazine. He shot center mass on a silhouette target. He did not miss often. On February 9th, 2 days before, he drove to a Tractor Supply in Smith's Grove and bought a folding shovel, 2 rolls of contractor-grade black trash bags, and a 50-foot length of nylon rope. He paid with his credit card. The receipt would later sit in a manila envelope on a Kentucky State Police evidence room shelf, marked Exhibit 7B. On February 10th, the day before, he stopped at the Walmart on Campbell Lane and bought a gallon of Clorox bleach, a roll of duct tape, and a 30-pack of zip ties. He paid in cash. He smiled at the cashier. He told her he was helping a buddy clean out a deer stand. He loaded all of it into the bed of the F-250 that night, under a blue plastic tarp held down with bungee cords. He parked the truck in the detached garage on Plano Road and pulled the door shut. Tyler was at Rachel's that week. The house was empty. Travis sat in the kitchen and drank a 6-pack of Coors Light and watched a SEC basketball game on the TV in the living room. Rachel had no idea any of this was happening. She had spent that evening helping Tyler with a college application essay at her kitchen table on Center Street. The protective order, in her mind, was holding. The hearing was 11 days away. She was tired, but optimistic. She had told her sister on the phone, 2 nights earlier, that she felt like she could finally see the other side of it. The morning of February 11th, she went to work like always. She arrived at the dental office at 7:45. She had a full schedule of cleanings, a retired school teacher at 8, a 6-year-old at 9:15, a college student at 10, a 40-year-old contractor at 11:30. She broke for lunch at 12:50. Travis was already in the parking lot. He had been sitting there for an hour and 20 minutes. He had moved the Ruger from the toolbox to the center console of the truck. He had loaded it with a 6-round magazine and chambered a round. He had practiced, in the driver's seat, drawing it from the console with his right hand while keeping his left on the steering wheel. He had practiced this 17 times before she walked out the front door. When she did walk out, he stepped out of the truck. He called her name. She turned. He was already close, 5 feet away, then 3, then within arm's reach. He had the Ruger pointed at her stomach, low, tucked against his side, so that no one passing on Scottsville Road could see it. He told her to get in the truck. He told her if she screamed, he would shoot her in the parking lot and then shoot himself. She got in the truck. He drove east. Out of the dental office parking lot, north on Scottsville Road, onto the Cumberland Parkway eastbound, away from Bowling Green and toward the part of Kentucky where the towns get smaller and the trees get thicker and the road signs start pointing toward Mammoth Cave National Park. He talked the whole way, not yelling, not threatening, just talking. About Tyler, about the Nova in the garage, about a vacation they had taken to Gulf Shores in 2014 when Tyler was 7, about a specific morning at a beach when Tyler had built a sandcastle and a wave had taken it, and Tyler had cried, and Travis had built him another one. He told her he had loved her since the day he met her at that wedding in Smith's Grove. He told her this was not how he wanted any of it to end. He told her they were going to fix this somewhere quiet. The Ruger sat in his lap, his right hand loose around the grip, his thumb resting on the safety. Every time she shifted in her seat, his thumb moved. She watched it. She was not panicking. That is the thing she would say later, on the witness stand, that surprised her most about that drive. She was not panicking. She was thinking. She was looking. She was cataloging. She noticed the pen clipped to the sun visor, a Bic ballpoint with a blue cap, the kind of pen Travis used to write down work orders. She noticed her purse on the floorboard between her feet, untouched. She noticed his phone in the cup holder, screen down. She noticed the gas gauge, 3/4 full. She noticed every exit sign they passed. She noticed, around the 40-minute mark, that he was getting hungry. He had not eaten since breakfast. His stomach made a sound. He muttered something about food. She stayed quiet. At 1:38 in the afternoon, Travis took the exit for KY 259 toward Brownsville. Brownsville is a town of less than 1,000 people, built around a courthouse square and a Dollar General and a handful of churches. Just north of the town, at the corner of Main Street and KY 259, sits a McDonald's, a small one, single drive-thru, lobby that closes at 10. Travis pulled into the drive-thru lane at 1:40. He told her, before he rolled down the window to order, that if she said anything to the cashier, anything at all, he would shoot the cashier and then shoot her. He showed her the gun in his lap to make sure she understood. She nodded. He ordered 2 No. 1 combos. Coke for him, Coke for her. He pulled forward to the first window and paid in cash, handed her a $20 bill from his wallet and told her to lean across him to pay because he was not taking his hand off the gun. She took the 20. The pin on the visor was 4 inches from her face. The cashier at the first window was a 19-year-old named Madison Pruitt. She was working a 6-hour shift between morning classes at Western Kentucky Community and Technical College in Bowling Green and an evening shift at a coffee shop in town. She had been working at the McDonald's in Brownsville for 14 months. She was 3 credits away from her associate degree in business administration. She had not been trained for this. There is no module in McDonald's crew training that covers what to do when a hostage hands you a help note. There is no protocol. There is no script. What Madison Pruitt had, in that 30-second window between when the truck pulled up and when the truck pulled forward, was instinct. Rachel handed her the $20 bill. Folded around it, on the back of a receipt from another customer that had been sitting on the visor, were 2 words written in shaky blue ballpoint. Help, and underneath, in smaller letters, gun. Madison saw the writing. She did not look at the man in the driver's seat. She did not change her expression. She took the bill and the receipt, smiled at Rachel, and said, "I'll get your change, ma'am. Just a moment." She stepped back from the window and turned toward the back of the kitchen. She walked the receipt directly to her shift manager, a woman named Trina Boyd, 36, a mother of two who had been working at the McDonald's in Brownsville for 9 years. Madison handed her the receipt without saying anything. Trina read it. Trina looked at Madison. Madison nodded once. Trina walked into the office and closed the door. She picked up the phone and called 911. The call was logged at 1:42 and 48 seconds in the afternoon. The dispatcher, a woman named Karen Mills, took the call. Trina described the truck: dark blue Ford F-250, Kentucky plate, 2 occupants, male driver, female passenger appearing distressed, possible firearm in vehicle, currently in the drive-thru of the Brownsville McDonald's. Karen Mills toned out Edmonson County dispatch. A deputy named Chris Whitaker, who happened to be eating his own lunch at a Subway 4 blocks away, took the call and started his patrol vehicle. While Karen Mills was on the line, Trina walked back to the second drive-thru window. She slid the window open and looked at Travis Halverson and smiled and said, "I'm so sorry, sir, but our fryer just went down on the fries. Would you like to switch to a side salad, or we can have fresh fries up in about 4 minutes?" Travis sat for a moment. The Ruger was in his lap. Rachel was in the passenger seat staring straight ahead. Travis said, "How long for the fries?" Trina said, "About 4 minutes." Travis said, "Forget it." He pulled forward without the food. The truck turned right out of the McDonald's parking lot onto KY 259, heading north. Trina watched it go. Then she walked back into the office and told Karen Mills the truck was moving. Karen Mills relayed it to Deputy Whitaker. Whitaker was already on KY 259, coming south. Deputy Chris Whitaker spotted the dark blue F-250 at 1:46 and 30 seconds, 3/10 of a mile north of the McDonald's, on a stretch of KY 259 just past a feed store. He radioed the trooper, a Kentucky State Police sergeant named Daniel Reese, who was 4 minutes behind him on the parkway. He did not initiate the stop until Reese caught up. He paced the truck at 38 miles per hour and waited. When Sergeant Reese pulled in behind, the 2 units initiated a high-risk traffic stop simultaneously. Lights, sirens, 2 cruisers fanning the truck toward the gravel parking lot of a small white-clapboard church a 1/4 mile down the road. Travis pulled in. He killed the engine. He put both hands on the steering wheel. The body cam footage from Deputy Whitaker's vest picks up at this point. "Driver, do not move. Keep both hands on the wheel where I can see them." "Officer, I'm not, she's my wife." "Sir, keep your hands on the wheel." "Ma'am, when I tell you, I want you to step out of the vehicle slowly with your hands visible." This is a misunderstanding. We were just getting lunch." "Sir, with your left hand, open the door from the outside." "Slowly, I'm telling you, this is a misunderstanding." "Sir, do it now." He did it. He stepped out of the truck slowly with both hands visible. He went down to his knees in the gravel without being told to. The Ruger LCP was on the floorboard between where his feet had been, loaded, 1 round chambered, safety off. Rachel got out of the passenger side and walked toward Sergeant Reese with her hands in front of her, and did not stop walking until she had reached him and put her forehead against his shoulder. She did not cry. She did not speak. She just stood there with her forehead against the shoulder of a Kentucky State Police uniform she had never seen before in her life. Whitaker put Travis in handcuffs at 1:51 in the afternoon. The total elapsed time from the 911 call to the arrest was 8 minutes and 12 seconds. Stories like this don't get the attention they deserve. A 19-year-old cashier and a 36-year-old shift manager saved a woman's life with 2 words and a stalled French fry order. If you want to see more accountability coverage, subscribe and hit the notification bell. The next part of this story is the part the receipt made possible, what was already in the bed of that truck. The first thing Sergeant Reese did, after Travis was secured in the back of his cruiser, was walk to the bed of the F-250 and pull back the blue tarp. Underneath, neatly arranged, were the items recovered from the Tractor Supply and the Walmart. A folding shovel still in the cardboard packaging. 2 rolls of contractor-grade black trash bags, a gallon jug of Clorox bleach, a roll of gray duct tape, a 30-pack of zip ties. Underneath those, the 50-foot length of nylon rope, coiled. The shovel was the thing that made Sergeant Reese stop and exhale. The truck was towed to the Edmonson County Sheriff's impound lot. The Ruger LCP was logged into evidence at 3:18 that afternoon. The receipt, the McDonald's receipt with help and gun in blue ballpoint on the back, was logged as Exhibit 1. It was photographed front and back, sealed in a clear evidence bag, and sent to the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office in Brownsville the following morning. Travis Halverson was charged on February 12, 2025, with kidnapping in the first degree, attempted murder, wanton endangerment, violation of a protective order, and possession of a firearm by a prohibited person under Kentucky Revised Statutes 527.040. The attempted murder charge was supported, prosecutors said, by the contents of the truck bed. His attorney, a Bowling Green defense lawyer named Marcus Penbrook, initially filed a motion to suppress the contents of the truck bed on grounds that the inventory search exceeded the scope of the stop. The judge, the Honorable Patrice Lambert of the Edmonson Circuit Court, denied the motion in March. Penbrook then filed a motion to challenge the attempted murder charge on grounds that the items in the truck bed were not, by themselves, sufficient evidence of intent to kill. That motion was also denied. Judge Lambert wrote, in her ruling, that a folding shovel, contractor-grade trash bags, a gallon of bleach, and zip ties, taken together with a kidnapping at gunpoint, constitute a prima facie case of intent that any reasonable juror could infer. In October 2025, after 7 months of pretrial motions, Travis Halverson pleaded guilty to kidnapping in the first degree, attempted murder, and possession of a firearm by a prohibited person, in exchange for the Commonwealth dropping the wanton endangerment and protective order violation counts. Sentencing was held on October 28, 2025, in the Edmonson County Courthouse in Brownsville. The courtroom was full. Rachel was there. Tyler was there, 18 by then, a senior in high school, a partial scholarship offer from Western Kentucky already in hand. Madison Pruitt was there. Trina Boyd was there. Deputy Whitaker and Sergeant Reese were there in uniform. Rachel testified from the witness stand. She read the receipt out loud. She held up the photograph of the receipt that the Commonwealth had marked as Exhibit 1, and she read the 2 words on the back, and then she looked at Travis Halverson and said, "I wrote that with a pen I noticed on your visor before I got in the truck. I had 30 seconds at the window. I knew that the only person who was going to save my life was a stranger I had never met. Her name is Madison." She didn't flinch. Tyler testified after his mother. He spoke for less than 2 minutes. He said, "I called the police on my dad in 2023. I should have called them sooner. I want him to know that I'm not afraid of him anymore." Judge Lambert delivered the sentence. She said, from the bench, that she had presided over the Edmonson Circuit Court for 14 years and had never seen a clearer case of premeditated intent. She said the contents of the truck bed represented, in her judgment, a plan that had been in motion for at least 5 days, and that would have ended in the murder of Rachel Halverson, but for the actions of 2 civilians and a fast food drive-thru window. She sentenced Travis Halverson to 40 years in the Kentucky Department of Corrections, with no eligibility for parole for 30 years. He was transported the following week to the Kentucky State Penitentiary in Eddyville, a maximum security facility on the western edge of the state, where he is currently inmate number 318447. He will be 66 years old at his earliest possible parole hearing in 2055. The receipt sits in a sealed evidence file at the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office in Brownsville. Madison Pruitt finished her associate degree the following spring and now works as an office manager at an insurance agency in Bowling Green. Trina Boyd was promoted to general manager of the Brownsville McDonald's 6 months after the arrest. Rachel and Tyler Halverson moved out of state in the summer of 2025. This case was almost a tragedy. But the case on your screen right now is one where there was no receipt, no 19-year-old at the window, and no one stalling for 4 minutes. Click it now.